Hey, I'm Jonathan Alexander, one of the Panthers beat writers here at the Charlotte Observer,
And I'm Alaina Getzenberg, the other Panthers beat writer at The Observer.
and you're listening to Panthers Tracks. Just got done with week 16, entering week 17, and the Panthers snapped the 3-game losing streak by beating Ron Rivera in the Washington football team in what was dubbed the revenge game. Unsurprisingly, people were not pleased. Panthers fans were not pleased because, the win did. The Panthers were projected to pick number 4 in the draft. Had they lost, they would have been number 3. And because they won, they fell down to number 9. So Panthers fans were not happy. But Matt Rule definitely wanted to address that. He said playoff teams win in December, and he felt that the Packers game and the Redskins game was a perfect learning opportunity for his young team, who played all 7 defensive rookies that they drafted against the Packers, and most of them against Washington. A good learning opportunity to learn how to win in December, so it could kind of teach them how to be a playoff team. But he's trying to tell you guys, he's not a tanker. He's not going to tank. They don't believe that tanking helps in the long run. He's trying to build a culture of winning. What'd you make of it, Alaina?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think he came he had talked about it after the game on Sunday, but he expressed to us that was an exhausting game. I guess when you get a lead early, you want to finish it off strongly. So I think that went into it. But he came prepared Monday morning, wanting to talk about certain subjects, especially the Panthers' recent, since the Super Bowl run in 2015, it has been a great stretch in terms of winning in December. I mean, winning in general, I guess, would be the argument against that. I think winning in December is important, but I also think, if they lose to the Saints, it's not going to really impact, the 2021 team so much. But I understand where he's coming from, and I do think it's important. But I honestly think more important than that is some growth we're seeing from individual players. Matt Rule's, this is his thing, though. This is nothing about what he has said Sunday, nothing about what he said Monday is new. If you've been listening to him for months or just reading our stories on charlotteobserver.com, you would know that he's felt this way forever. He's always going to play the starters. He's always going to want to win, and he's going to want to he's building a mentality. And that's been something he came in, a year ago in his opening press conference. That's his mentality. So if it's a surprise, then you haven't really been paying attention. That's just kind of how he approaches this team in general.
Yeah, and the fact that he played Brian Burns was evidence of that. I mean, he said he wasn't going to shut down players. Brian Burns is your best defensive player, second year, younger than a lot of rookies on this team, and he had a knee injury. That knee injury was serious enough that put his status in doubt. It wasn't surgery serious, but it was an injury that he couldn't miss this week. But Brian Burns said he felt better on Saturday, which is one day before the game. And Matt Rule says, okay, if you're healthy enough, we're going to play you. And, he wants to win. The players want to win. They think it'll be better for them in the long run than trying to get a higher draft pick that may or may not work out. Typically first round draft picks, especially that first 20 are going to be really good. You don't typically miss that much unless you overreach for a particular position. But, first round, there are a lot of great picks in the first round. While they're projected to finish pick number 9 right now, it could change depending on the result. They could fall as low as 13, correct? Mm-hmm. They're tied with a few teams. I think if they won and the teams like the Patriots lost, they would have the same record as them. And a few other teams, I think the Broncos are there. 49ers, I believe.
It's one outside of the first 2 picks, 3 to 15 is pretty much like deadlocked. Like there's a ton of teams with very similar records. So there's a lot still to be figured out. But I also think like what you're saying, it's not great. If you can get the 3rd overall pick, God, of course, like no one's arguing against that. That gives you like, even if they decide to trade back from it, it's still like a net positive. But it's not the end, I think the Panthers have so many needs. I think a quarterback is obviously, is Teddy Bridgewater the long term? No. But I also think, Teddy Bridgewater can be good enough that, like, if he's your quarterback, and I expect him, I think we both expect him to very much so be on this team in 2021 and very well could be I kind of think most likely he's starting week 1, 2021, if you ask me right now, even if they draft a quarterback. But you have that Teddy Bridgewater contract in case you want to go a different way in the first round. Maybe there's a really good left tackle that ends up falling, or right tackle, depending on what happens with Taylor Moton. Like and the defense, that's not even getting into the needs defensively. So I just think they have so much to address that, yes, you'd love to get a quarterback, but they're not getting Trevor Lawrence. So no one else is like a for sure, you'd love to get Fields, but who knows? I mean, he's more of a maybe he'll be good. We don't know yet. So
yeah,
I just think I think no matter what, they are most likely. I don't see them beating the Saints, so I think most likely they'll end up in the top 10, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think what we've seen from many draft experts and people who really study this and scouts is that the only sure guy that you have to take is Trevor Lawrence, and he's being taken number 1. And I've seen Trevor Lawrence playing in college, and he's different. Trevor Lawrence there's some college players who don't belong in college, and Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
they were never going to get Trevor Lawrence,
and they were never going to get Trevor Lawrence. And I think it's important that you don't reach. I think Justin Fields, definitely they see that potential. I think a lot of teams see that potential in him, but you never know. Ohio State doesn't have a great history with quarterbacks.
It's a tough week for Ohio State quarterbacks.
Definitely a tough week for Ohio State quarterbacks. Dwayne Haskins was released by Washington after the Carolina Panthers game, which is unfortunate, but he had made some mistakes. But like I was saying, Ohio State quarterbacks don't have a great history in the NFL. I don't know if that'll affect Justin Fields, but it's a question. And Zach Wilson has gone up in draft stocks, but I've heard that there's still question marks about him. So it's not the end of the world. Just like you said, Panthers have a lot of needs. Left tackle being one of them, potentially right tackle. Another D tackle, pass rushing D tackle, maybe linebacker, cornerback, tight end. And it's not like one of these positions is like, we have to have this position more than the other ones. It's just about equal. Like, they have needs in all those areas, significant gaps in all those areas that they have to address, whether that'll be free agency or the draft. A quarterback is not what they have to go after.
Yeah, I would actually argue like those positions that you just named, that quarterback, yes, if the quarterback of the future is there, get him. They need a future. But like in terms of needs for next season, like quarterback is somewhat low, compared to some of their other needs where like, I don't know. I only know Matt Paradis is starting on the offensive line next year. Yeah. Outside of that, there's a lot of question marks, and that's a concern. Linebacker, like you just listed in positions that to me, yes, they need the quarterback of the future, but like in terms of 2021, there's a lot of positions I would think are more pressing.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that.